Live from the J.C. Newman Cigar Studio in Boston, Massachusetts, welcome to the Smokin Tobacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Smokin' Nicole.
Okay, so once again, when Nicole is not present, there is always issues. First of all, for whatever reason, there's two different camera angles of me and none of the other guys, and there was also no video intro. And this happens every single time Nicole cannot be here for the start of the show. I don't know what it is. I don't know if she does this. I don't know if she purposely sabotages me, like to embarrass me. But every fucking time she's not here for the beginning of the show, this should happen. She's right next to me. You would have thought this was a Hollywood production. She's not here. It's like, wow, this is sad. So now it's too late, and I'm already
But
live.
there's some fabulous angles. Fabulous angles.
And I don't even know. I
You
don't
just
even.
said it. That's correct. Yeah, it's better when she's here.
I'm just like, I'm baffled right now, and what a horrible way to start the show. I don't know how to turn off. I've never even seen this before, where there's two angles of me. I don't know how to turn that
Never
off.
seen your face before. I have deeper concerns.
Well,
If you just take a piece of paper and cover one of Matt up, it may make it easier. You know.
I am just.
Now he's completely gone.
All right,
Oh,
now I got my
You're
camera
for-
feedback.
Oh,
Let's get all the boys in here. There we go. I don't know what I did, but I got it back. So we are here. Unfortunately, the intro video did not happen. I'm not sure what happened there, and now Nicole will text me to be like, "Why did you give me shit on the air?" And hey, FaceTime me super quick. I can't, Nicole, because I'm on the air with everyone else. So sorry, you'll have to fix this
Come
later.
on, Nicole.
Anyway,
Just trying to
ladies and
bail
gentlemen,
you out, man. All good.
I know. So we where's my guest of the night screen here? There we go. I had it all set up, ready to go. It got all. See, this is what happened. I get all discombobulated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. I am Matt Tobacco from SmokinTabacco.com, and I am joined by no one else on the Smokin Tobacco team tonight, but I am joined by some of my peers in the cigar media. We have. I don't know if it's the same on the other way. I'm going to go for the way I see it on my screen. To my top right, I have Mr. Matthew Ty and Garrett Robinson from How About That Cigar? How About That Cigar?
How about that cigar?
Right below me, I have Mr. Bear Duplisea of El Oso Fumar. And in the bottom right, we all know who this guy is. This is probably our favorite person amongst our peer group. My co-host on the Spare Notes show. We are not worthy. It is our unofficial cigar dad, Mr. William Cooper. What's up, buddy? How are you?
You guys are too kind. I'm just here for the free samples.
Yeah, getting it
For
started.
samples.
As far as that goes.
I feel totally misled because I thought I was going to be on Spare Pots, and here I am with these guys. What the fuck?
The show tonight is a special one. It is there's no guest. I mean, as much as you guys are guests here, but there's not really like an outside guest. It's all of us together. Thinking about PCA, this is the last show before PCA. We will not be doing a show, and Spare Notes will not be broadcasting next week. Those are going to be the off week for both shows because we will all be in Las Vegas. So I was thinking about this, and I'm like, you know what? Like, no guest. Let's get some of the boys together. Let's just be together because that's this is the beginning of us all being together. And let's talk about the trade show. Things that we're going to see, things that we think we're going to see, things that we hope we see, and maybe some stuff that we don't want to see. Is kind of the main theme, but we can branch through that in terms, very specific topics about different things. We were all at the show last year, so we can all speak, from experience of that. That was a very small show. Coop, I think Coop is the longest attending person to the trade show that's in this group right now, so his memory probably goes back the furthest, if I'm not mistaken, and so he can give us even more insight going really back. But the last couple of years, comparing it was a very, very small show. Big Four were not there. There was a handful of other manufacturers and boutiques that weren't there. We also, as a recap, you have to remember that last year was the pandemic situation. Also, because of that, in addition to all the other reasons, TPE took place 8 weeks before the PCA show. There was a lot of people who didn't want to make, 2 trips to Vegas for a trade show 8 weeks apart. So that had some impact. going into the 2022 trade show, I expect to see, and I think it's almost a given at this point, this show is going to be much bigger than the show last year. Kind of a little bit more. There's still the big four still won't be there, but a lot of other people have returned to the show. I think we're going to see more of a full strength show this year, in a general sense. Obviously the big four and their big booths won't be there, but I think it'll still be a big show. I'm going to start this off really quick, and I'm going to ask everyone, first of all, what are you all smoking? I'm going to start with how about that cigar, then we're going to go to Bear, and then we're going to go to Coop. And that's going to be pretty much the order of how we answer the questions tonight, just to keep it easy for me in my clockwise order here.
I am starting with the King's Gold by Adventura in Corona.
And I've got the Undercrown 10 in the Toro size.
Nice. Cigar of the year. Bear, what you got?
I am still recovering from double pneumonia, so I am not going to be smoking tonight. I haven't had a cigar since the last time I was so fortunate and so privileged to be a part of How About That Cigar earlier this month. So that's the last cigar I had.
Alrighty. And Coop, what are you firing up tonight?
Well, in honor of Bear, I fired up a Crux Epicure Maduro Gordo. Big
There you go.
6x60.
Yeah.
Because Gordos are Vitolas too.
We're super toast too.
There
Yeah.
it is. There it is.
Well,
Yep. Everyone sees what I put up with. This is fantastic. Roll Tide.
it's all love. It's all love. Jeremiah Marifel is watching with us tonight, and as Jeremiah will say, as he knows, it's all love. And if you don't do it with passion, then don't do it at all.
Congratulations to Jeremiah, by the way. Big announcement today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very exciting, really exciting news. So congratulations.
And can I just say, those cigars look fucking awesome. Like, wow. Interesting.
Well, good news. I can rate Jose Blanco's humidor. I'm sure he's going to have a ton of it.
Wow. Even when Jose's not here,
that double Robusto size is money too. Like
I love the double, and I love that size. Actually, that's one of my favorite sizes. So I'm very excited about that. That's going to be I'm telling my kids, come Christmas time, Daddy wants a little Uber luxury,
I love it when he says
next time.
Daddy.
You know what? Hold on. Everyone, time out. So for the audience watching at home, there's a green room. There's a lot of behind the scenes things that happen with us. Conversations happen before the show. We don't just show up 3 minutes before we go live like Coop seems to think that certain people can do because they're entitled to not having to have any technical issues. But besides that, there was a conversation made, and I was talking about how much I love the Cigar-Coop team. That's why they're here. Tonight, and I was talking about what each member brings to the table, and Bear brings the sex appeal, and I said and Coop is like there's Ben and there's Aaron, there's other people that are part of Cigar-Coop too, but because of that group, Coop's like the leader. He is Cigar-Coop, so he's like the dad of the group, and you guys are all his children below, and it kind of turned into Coop's the daddy of the situation, and then he's just like, oh, so Daddy's gonna want some Uber luxury. It was just the perfect time for that comment to come out, and you guys didn't know about that other conversation, so it wasn't as funny for you. But now you understand. Coop is now calling himself Daddy, and it's hilarious.
Well, it's actually kind of funny.
As far as that goes,
I've worked with this man for 5. We've worked with this man for 5 years, and I don't know if I've ever fucking heard him use the word daddy. And
it's kind of funny. I spoke to each of my kids today on the phone, which is rare. Like the two don't live here, and I spoke to all 4 of my kids today, which is kind of a rarity these days. So I guess it was just in me, and then that's how that happened. I think more.
Oh, it was in you.
Along that line. Right. I think it was a little in me. I got a call from my daughter. I thought I was gonna get, I thought she was gonna tell me, hey, grandchildren are coming. That wasn't the case, unfortunately.
Quentin said Matt and Garrett are the sex appeal for sure. I mean, man, that's true.
I think that's just Quentin's jealous rage over my beard. I think that's what it is.
I was just going to say.
So Bear
has the best seat in the house right now. I'm just saying.
Oh boy. This is what
there
happens when
is
we all get together. It gets away from
best
us.
seat in
Well,
the
why?
house.
What are we talking about on the show tonight? I forget. We talking about Coop being daddy, or
Yeah,
we?
let's talk
No,
about anything else.
We're
Yeah,
talking about PCA, which no one cares about.
as far as that
So
goes.
Matt, if I can,
Yeah, what's up?
I have some contrasting information to your opening statement about turnout at the PCA, and not from a manufacturer standpoint, but from
Oh
a
shit!
retailer.
Garrett's getting it started. Here we go.
We're jumping right into it. All right, here we go.
Yeah, we're going. So, as
Garrett,
I
hold on
travel
one second.
around-
Sorry, I forgot to say, because I didn't say what I was. I'm smoking the La Serena
yeah.
Mexican Mermaid. Just
Love that cigar.
just so that way I get that covered. 'Cause
Great cigar, by the way.
Yeah, it's great. It's phenomenal. But I'm sorry, Garrett, you were speaking. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. So as I travel around the Midwest and I talk to retailers, the thing that I'm hearing is I'm getting about 50% of them that are actually going to the show. Reason being, all of them can get the same deals by staying home than they can if they went to the show. So we should also bring up the conversation.
Welcome to the last 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's the
you know, and we know that that's been an issue for a while, that they were strict on it for a long time. IPCPR days, and you know, going back to TDR, and now we are in a position where retailers can get the show deals even if they don't attend the show. So what I'm seeing is about 50% of my Midwest market is not attending to the show, mostly because of that. And they save, you know, if there's a 3-person team for a show, they're going to save 10 grand. You know, why would they go?
and this has definitely been a problem, and I think some of the stuff you see in the PCA start to do is to start to build the experience component to the show, which I think ultimately is going to dictate the success of this event long term. They just can't build this into a ultra experience in 1 year. It's going to take a few years to do it, but they're taking some, I'd say, baby steps this year to do that. Because Garrett, that problem will never go away. TPE has the same exact problem, by the way, and it doesn't get talked about TPE because there's incentives for people to go to TPE, and if those as long as those incentives are there, no one's going to complain about the deals of TPE not being there.
Look, can we just call it what it is? Like that the cigar industry plays like this tough guy, tough gal card all the time. Like there are a lot of gruff people in this industry. They flaunt a lot of edge and stuff like that. But they're going to take care of their customers. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. I'm not
Right.
they want to take care of their people. They want to take care of their people, but it's always going to be a problem unless you figure out how to address it. So, and I think that's where these, I think that's where they're starting. I know Coop's going to have something to say after I say this, but I think that's where they're starting with some of these PCA exclusives and this track record that they're going to go down. If they can keep up momentum and they keep building upon it, I think they will have some things that will move the needle and get more people to Vegas or wherever the show's going to be here in a couple of years.
Well, I'll say that my mind has been changed over the last 2 years about this, because I felt very staunchly a few years ago that the PCA as an organization should dedicate their time, resources, and money to the regulatory work, and that the trade show, the PCA trade show, can afford to be, a little bit lesser, as long as the money that isn't going to the trade show is going to the regulatory efforts. But I have completely done a 180 on that. After seeing what the TPE did this year, earlier this year, in my opinion, the PCA as an organization, if they want to continue growing and getting more members, not only more members, retailers and manufacturers being active members of the organization, this trade show, this convention and trade show needs to be an unmissable event.
Yes.
That all their friends in the industry say, I can't believe you weren't there. You have no idea what you missed. What an incredible time we had at this PCA convention and trade show.
You know, Matt, that's a great comment you make because I wasn't at TPE. And I did have a little bit of this notion. Not a lot. I had this notion. I really should have been there. I know I told Bed that, and I told a few guys that. And I felt like I missed something out. And I think that's a great thing. That's a great way to put it. TP definitely hit the mark. I think TP's got some other issues still, but I think they put on, like I said, something that was unmissable for January. You just kicked the year off. Now PCA, it's in their court to do the same exact thing. That's a great point.
And I don't fault them. I don't fault them for last year's trade show. It's in the past, first of all. Second of all, they had very little time to actually put the trade show together. So I don't fault them for that. But my mind has been changed. So I think it would be in their best interest, in our best interest as PCA members, if this trade show and if this convention and trade show is absolutely off the chain, lights out, unmissable, because that's just going to get more people there and involved.
I don't want to discount your point at all, Matt, because I do agree with it. But isn't there something just more simplistic about this? Isn't TPE just the shiny new toy? Isn't it just the new kid on the block? I recognize that TPE has been around for much longer, but they haven't been as opening and welcoming to the premium cigar industry and been able to spotlight them as they have in the last few years past and stuff. And that's been a great decision on their part. That really has. So that's fantastic on them. But isn't that what it really is? I mean, honestly, 5 years ago, no one in this industry really cared. There are people that win, but they didn't really care.
No, and that's fair. But if you look at all of the things that the TPE did for all of its attendees, not only that, but the cigar industry, as far as making media accessibility, the parties that they throw, the access,
the money they throw out. Yeah, you're right. Okay. I'll let you finish your point. Sorry.
They put on a show that you wanted to be at, that you felt like you didn't want to miss. It has, no matter what cigar industry event it is, we're all going to have a blast there because we're going to see each other. It's going to be like a family reunion. That part is a given. It's the extra stuff on top of it that separates the show, the shows from each other. And like Matt said, last week, in several weeks, we hope that the PCA took some notes on a lot of the things that TPE made from making all of their attendees and exhibitors, that's the word I was looking for, feel a part of an amazing event. They really hit a home run. And yes, it is capitalizing. They're doing a great job. TPE is doing a great job of capitalizing on seeing the PCA struggling over the last few years in some areas, and they're bulking up on that relationship with the cigar industry. I don't fault them for it, and I think it's great. But to your point, I think they're more than just a shiny new toy or designer drug. They are actually putting their money where their mouth is.
Well, they have the designer drugs across the aisle, but that's another thing.
Yeah, that's true. They do.
This is true.
So, no, I think again several very valid points there, Garrett. And to your point about media coverage, I dropped a second ago that when we were yucking it up a little bit with Coop, but I have worked with this man for 5 years, and I can tell you, in that amount of time, when I first started working with him, like when we were going to attend our first trade show together as a group, and he was telling me things like, hey, you have to understand, this is the way it is. This is what we're fighting for. I know that this is unfair. And this, like, just certain concessions media just didn't get. And it's not really worthwhile bringing them up because I'm not going to judge with the past, but a lot of those things have been reconciled.
They've done a great job this year with
huge
that.
Way. Remember one of our running jokes until this year, we even, McTavish brought this up in a chat earlier. It was like, hey, are we still going to bet if we get turned away at the door? And we're like, no, that's not an issue anymore.
For early access.
Early access. That was a problem. That was a problem. Media was a quote unquote allowed in certain cases, and you were still having to like almost flex in order to get in and be like, no, I'm media.
Yeah.
That's not a
To
problem anymore. They've made it really accommodating for our peers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bear made that point. I know Matt and I talked about this, and Bear and I talked about this. To see the media sites on the PCA website is nothing short of a day I never thought I'd see that happen. They
Yeah.
put our brands up there alongside some of the very traditional print magazines.
Cigar
And this is,
aficionado.
and yeah.
Journal.
But I mean, we were all there, and that's a big step. It is a, and
Absolutely.
you don't. I think it's a It's finally, because we were the damn bloggers 10 years ago. Like, people didn't want us there. They were looking for any excuse to kick us out of the trade show. If something got stolen, we were the ones blamed for it. It's come a long way. It really has. Is it perfect? Is it perfect? No, but we're in a, like Bear said, compared to when he started doing this with me 5 years ago, we're in a much better place. I'm just telling you, we were in a bad place many years ago. Is what I'm just telling you.
I'm still waiting for someone to refer to me as a damn blogger, just so I can say I'm not a blogger. I'm a superstar.
There's only like I
don't
think the
you
blogger
forget it.
name kind of. I think the blogger name went away about 3 or 4 years ago. It's kind of funny because
Yeah.
we were bloggers. Like, everyone just calls bloggers. Now it's like bloggers hardly used because everyone does video coverage one way or another. So
Yeah.
Well, there's multiple facets of what we do. I mean, we do podcasts, we do video interviews at the show, we do write-ups, we do blogging, we do press release. There's a lot of things we do. It's not just I just write in my blog and that's it. So blogger, I mean, we talked about this on Spare Notes. The blogger term doesn't really apply either way. So anyone who thinks that we're
There's
bloggers,
still a couple left.
I mean, there's like Craig. I think Craig is still doing just
Craig
blogging.
is the pure blogger out there.
Yeah.
Is what I'll say, and he's really good at it. That's not a knock.
He
writes that
absolutely is.
personal,
Yeah.
agile. Yeah, that's a blog.
Yeah.
He does it better
He's
than
rough.
One of the booths that we saw. So there was a couple of new. I don't want to. How do I want to word this? There was some bigger new players last year. Obviously, number one, the biggest thing that everyone wanted to see at the show last year was Michael Herklotz and Ferry Ortega make their debut. Not only at the show, but it was literally months after the announcement of the formation of that company. So that was really the first time a lot of us got to see Michael in person since the announcement of Ferry Ortega and what was going to be happening with that. And he came to the show, no cigars to sell, but again, he's a few months in to being publicly out there. So, but the boxes were there. We got to see him. We got to talk to him. Just being there to connect. Not even for us, but even the retailers. Just to see him and talk to him and ask their questions about. All right, so like, how is this gonna work? That was a huge thing last year. It was really great to see him. He was at TPE. He's going to be there next week. Very exciting. Another one that came onto the scene that I've heard like really good things, and then I've heard, and I wouldn't say horrible things, but like questionable, like people were very skeptical, was El Septimo came onto the scene last year at the trade show, and that was a very interesting booth, and there was people who thought it was the greatest thing, and then their cigars are different, a little interesting. If you've seen their pricing, it's a little high, higher than the average for the higher end, like Davidoff, Byron Atabey, some of the Padron stuff. Even some of the Opus stuff. I'm trying to remember. So I believe they're making they're coming back to the show this year. Coop, I actually sent you something. I need you to look at your phone. What was your? I'm just curious because I don't even know.
Secrets don't make friends, Matt. But that's cool.
Oh wow, really? Okay, it's not even like that. I need some advice on something.
He sends the press release to Coop, but not to us.
It's not a press release.
You know what? Coop's earned it though. It's all good.
Yeah, Coop
All right,
has earned it. Yeah.
So I'll take the torch here, Matt. If you don't.
Since you interrupted me, you might as well.
Yeah. So, and I mean this with the sincerest amount of respect, because I do think your point about Michael debuting Ferry Ortega at the show had incredible merit. I think it was very exciting, and I think it was a success for him. But I don't know if you intentionally use these words. You really think that was the story of the show last year? I'm not trying to pick a fight with you. I'm just curious to get your insight.
Yeah, no product there. That's kind of where I was going with that too.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I worded that incorrectly. Maybe I worded that incorrect.
No,
But
it's your opinion, man. I'm not trying to pick a fight with you. I just, I'm appreciate your insight, so I'm just asking a question.
I think what I meant to say is he was one of the most anticipated people to see, just given. Now
Okay.
I know he had no product there, but I to me it felt that he was one of the more, not the most, but one of the more anticipated people to see, just given how the new company and all that.
Yeah.
People have a lot of questions. He did not have product there, so I mean obviously that if you take that into consideration, there's people there actually selling cigars, taking orders. He really wasn't, so that you have to obviously that takes that out of the equation. But I just meant in the sense that he was there. The company was still, months into its, conception at that point, and I think a lot of people were excited to see him there, and this and that, and that's really all I meant by that. So I do think that was a big point of the show, that he was there, this new company. A lot of people were speculating, like, does he stay in the industry? Does he leave? Does he start his own shop? So when all that happened during that 4 or 5 months there, I think that it was an interesting point and a highlight that people were excited to see him there. Now, of course, he didn't do business, so I understand that that's where you guys are probably looking at it, and I really wasn't putting that into the consideration for what I said, just to clear that up.
No, I get that. Yeah, I guess I thought going into the show, Saka was going to be the big story because he had the pipe tobacco cigars.
That was another one, yeah.
But I think it became a little anticlimactic once he announced it. And he still had a great show, don't get me wrong, and people got to try those cigars and everything. But I think our team came out of the coalition team came out of it, and we said, Bear, correct me if I'm wrong, Crown Heads Ace Prime was the one, was the boost that stole the show. We thought last year, just everything they were doing.
Yeah, I agree. I thought there were several incredible, and I think to Matt's point, I think Ferio Ortega was a huge story, and I think it was
a huge story,
and and I think it was a phenomenal success. Really, I mean, considering all factors, right? It was a phenomenal success for Michael and Brennan. They had to walk away feeling incredibly good
I would
about
say
their position.
What I took away from the Ferio Ortega thing from last year is it was a prime example of how the trade show is about way more than just writing orders. It's about FaceTime. It's about relationships. It's about interacting. And I think Michael Herklotz and Ferio Ortega proved that at the trade show last year, because they got so much buzz. And I mean, I'm sorry, but we're still sitting here a week away from this year's trade show talking about Herklotz at last year's trade show. That's meaningful.
Yeah, 100%.
And
I agree. It's a good point. That's a very good point.
Very good point.
You think about, we're talking about a guy last year was at the trade show not selling any product, and we're still talking about it. You're 100% right.
But what cigar, do you guys remember what cigar was the biggest buzz at last year's show in your opinions? Because for me, it was the culmination in the first time Ace Prime and Crown Heads finally did a booth together, and really came together, and they debuted the Series E, the Sergeant, those, and that Mil DS was, I think, kind of the pride of the show. In my opinion, it had the most buzz.
Well, I don't think because we weren't at the 2019 trade show, but I believe they were together at the 2019 trade show. Is that correct?
No,
no, they were not.
They were actually
Ace.
They were not.
They
were shooting baskets with Dominique Wilkins. I know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and here's something I'll throw in really quick is Bear mentioned Ace Prime and Crown Heads last year being, really one of, if not the most talked about exhibitors after the show was over. And honestly, I'd say they're poised to do it again at this year's trade show.
With Tim there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and even before the Tim announcement, there was a lot of, stuff that they have in the magazine, ready to send up. So I think they're poised to do it again.
Yeah, I agree with Crown Heads and Ace Prime. I thought that was big. Someone mentioned, Sock with Stillwell. Nicole just commented, I still think that Stillwell had buzz. I think that's the other one that I think had a lot of interest because people were generally interested. Like, okay, so it's a very interesting concept. How's this going to go? And then I feel like the feeling on that conversation from everyone I talked to, whether they said it or they insinuated it, it was always the phrase in the back of my mind, and I think it was for everyone else, well, Sokka's doing it, so this should be good. Or
if someone else did it, they would be laughing at them. And certain people who did it.
When you have a reputation like Steve does, there's obviously some freedoms that you can have that you won't receive the criticism that somebody else would. If somebody else had done this, I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think it would have been received differently. I don't want to say it wouldn't have been received well. It would have been received differently.
Like, let me give you an example, like to your point, Bear, right? So let's say, not just because you're sitting in front of the banner, but just because they're a big name and it pops out to me. Let's say Alec Bradley said they were going to do that project instead of Sokka last year.
You mean like Lars T 2 years before that?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a different direction for them. You're absolutely right, and it was, I think Alec Bradley did played the Lars Teton card about as well as they could, considering how unique and different and an offshoot that it was.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think you're right there because if we substitute Steve Sokka in that place of like, oh, Steve Sokka and Lars Teton are teeing up, it would have been received completely different. And a different vibe and stuff. So that's not saying that Alec Bradley did anything wrong. Like I said, I thought they executed it pretty well at the time. It seems like that project's kind of gone by the wayside and everything. But
never to be heard from again.
But I think, I think you're absolutely right, Matt. There's a really valid point there as far as that. Yeah. If anyone does it, it's completely valid. You brought up another company too. Can I snicker every freaking time I hear it. I can't help it. I just really can't, because every time I hear the name El Septimo, I just think of septic tank. I just do. I know it means the number 7. I know the number 7's on their labels. I know their cigars are good. I've had a couple, pretty good. But I mean, can we, like, you mentioned them as a big story. Like, the takeaway that I heard, everyone who went to their booth was like, they got nice stuff. It's expensive. That's the only thing I heard. And that's the only thing I have heard. They had a monstrous opportunity when freaking Matt Stafford is smoking one of their cigars at the Super Bowl parade. After he wins the Super Bowl, he's smoking an El Septimo. And there was nothing. There was nothing. People had to point it out.
Well, this is media relations. We're so good at it in the cigar industry.
Oh, I know.
Man, talk about some blown opportunities, man.
I know.
I'm sure.
I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna write a book on blown opportunities in the cigar industry one day.
Nice.
I could come up with 100 of them.
Yeah, the Willie.
But you're right.
Dude, they should have in the booth if El Septimo is at the PCA trade show. They should have a blown up picture of Matt Stafford smoking their cigar.
They should have an invite to him to come in the booth.
Coop, I refuse to listen to the audiobook of your book unless you do the narration.
I'm gonna do it.
All right, here's a question. Shot out of a cannon, random. Does anyone know what cigars the Braves smoked after their World Series win last year?
That's a Ben question.
Really? None of you know? It was Padron.
I don't know.
Padron.
It was Padron.
Yeah.
If I had,
Yeah.
Padron makes a lot of appearances.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, Padron does make a lot of appearances.
Yeah.
So the New England Patriots a few years back with the humidor.
Yep.
Was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean it's
Yaxel Ortiz for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, Ortiz. That was a deep
They got
track.
more, and they did. And by the way, that little company really did try to capitalize on that. I'll say that they really did. They did. They deserve credit,
as they should.
Yeah, they were smart.
And then there was the photo of Bruce Arians at the press conference and he had the Atabey in his pocket with the label like right there. It was I don't know if anyone
Yeah.
caught that. So that was another one. So I mean, every time and every time that, and then there was a picture of him like sitting out by the bus after a game and he was smoking an Opus X. Anytime that someone's smoking any cigar, it should be, take advantage of that opportunity. It's huge. Bear's right. I mean, it's like they just like, oh, then, yeah, whatever. For a brand that's trying to get into the U.S. market, Padron and Fuente and they've been around a little bit. I get it, but like you're new to this market and you have a superstar smoking your cigar at the Super Bowl parade. And
If that
Well,
was
this is how you do
LFD,
it.
we know
This is how
Carney
you-
would have been all over that. I mean, I'm just saying,
Carney
there are
would've been
people
all-
who would have been.
Well, take a look at the flex that Guy Fieri did, right? He launches a cigar, so it's big in our world, right?
Yeah.
It's big in our world, and it's a huge story because it's Guy Fieri with Eric Espinosa, and what a project that is, and they're continuing that momentum into the trade shows. So kudos to them.
good cigar.
But what a flex by Guy Fieri does. He's at the freaking NBA All-Star game, and all he does is sit down, and he's got a cigar in his mouth. He's got the knuckle sandwich in his mouth the whole time. And the entire world's like, Guy Fieri cigar? And it gets mentioned on air, on ESPN or TNT or whoever was covering it. Like, that's what you need to do.
That's true.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah, that whole Espinosa, the knuckle sandwich thing. Train left the station on that one. It was just steamrolling
I think
ahead.
they're going to be absolutely swamped at the trade show.
They're going to be chaotic there.
Is Guy going to the trade show?
From
all
what I
reports-
understand, he will be there
For
Wow.
a limited
Yeah.
time.
for a limited time on one day.
One day.
I don't recall right
It's
now which day it is.
I think it's day 2, the day they're doing the
It's a Sunday.
Espinosa. Yeah, that's when Espinosa's hosting the happy hour.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, that probably makes sense. Yeah.
Just so
Yeah.
you,
But-
just,
but-
just so I don't want to embarrass you, Cube. I'm not bringing my Diners, Drive-In Dives cookbook. So just so you know, I don't want to embarrass
If you thought the line for Big Poppy was big 4 years ago, this is going to be worse, is what I'm telling you. This is going to be worse.
And
I would
Worse
not
in a-
want to be
worse
Hector
in the best
Alfonso
way.
that day.
Worse in the best way though.
Worse,
the best
worse,
possible.
worse as far as the line goes is what I'm saying. I would not want to
Yeah,
be
in the
Hector
best
Alfonso
possible
that
way.
day. Yeah, Hector will be ready to take he'll go crazy that day.
Carpal tunnel for the amount of orders they're gonna write, man. It's gonna be baller.
Yeah,
it's a great move.
Outstanding.
It's going to be huge for them. They're going to have a great
That's
show.
what you need. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
they're going to
what
have
you need.
they're going to have a
You
great
made the
show.
point earlier. El Septimo needs to bring in Matt Stafford. They should have him there. Someone should invite Joe Burrow. He should be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made
Well,
cigars
Drew
smoking
Estate's not
cool.
going.
Well, he likes Tobacco Special, and Drew Estate's not going to be at the trade show. So
Mark,
He
Joe
likes
Rogan at the
cigars, and
foundation.
someone could say, "You know what, Joe? Hang out with us in the booth. You like
he likes
cigars?"
LFD, doesn't he? Doesn't Joe like LFD? It may be the
does.
only thing I can think of why Joe would not be at the trade show in all legitimate purposes. That's right up against training camps opening, so that could be a reason. I mean, a
That's
legitimate
true.
reason. Yeah.
Mark,
How
to
about
answer
Joe?
Mark, to answer your question, Steph Curry was smoking a Hoyo de Monterrey after the NBA Finals.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Joe
Habanos.
Rogan at the foundation
Habanos.
booth. How cool would that
All
be?
I know is
Yeah.
the Colorado
Joe
Rockies.
Rogan at their foundation.
Sorry, we had like multiple conversations going here.
No. Yeah,
So
go ahead.
Joe
Greg was
Rogan.
just saying, yeah, how awesome would it be if Joe Rogan showed up to the foundation booth? I don't think it's
Joe
going to happen.
Rogan and
Ooh, I
Guy
got one.
Fieri at the same PCA trade show. Shut the fuck up! Holy crap!
Maybe not as exciting, but here's another one. Jeremy Piven shows up to the Lucione booth.
Mhm.
That'd
Dude,
be
if they
all
could
right.
get all
From what
three
I
of those
understand-
people- yeah.
Yeah, from what I understand, that's not happening.
Yeah.
That from what I understand, I'll just kind of leave it at that. That is not happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're
Joe,
right. That would
Joe
be-
Rogan would be sweet though. That would be.
I mean, Armand Asante was there a few years ago. It was a big deal when Armand was there.
Russell
Right.
Peters was in Rocky's booth last year. At the
Yeah,
last
we
day.
interviewed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick Ross was there. I had no clue who the guy was.
When?
When?
I was like,
Wait,
you don't
wait,
fucking
wait.
know who Rick
Wait,
Ross
wait,
is.
wait, wait. When was Rick Ross there?
2018.
18,
Oh, okay, I wasn't at that
18,
show.
19. No, you wanna- I'm like, well, who's Rick Ross? That became like my slogan for the whole show. I had no idea who he was. Like, there's this huge crowd in the Drew Estate booth. I'm like, who's this guy? It's Rick Ross. I'm like, who's Rick Ross?
I know.
Dude, Carl Malone was a big draw too that year as well when he
Yeah.
was there.
You know, we've had
Yeah,
this
he was.
conversation about the celebrity cigars that come out, the celebrity collaborations, and I feel like they can be very hit or miss. Either they're really good, or they just kind of drop off. I think Poppy was a good one. That one's gotten a lot of buzz. That line is continuing to grow.
That's kept some legs. Yeah, that's had some legs. That one.
Yeah.
Because they keep it going. That's the thing, is that a lot of these celebrity cigars stop, and that's been your biggest question, Coop, about with sincerest respect to what they're doing at Espinosa, and all signs are pointing to the positive. But that's been your biggest question since day one: is are they going to be able to keep up this momentum? Is Guy Fieri in this for the long haul? And that's a pretty valid question. The cigar stands on its own, in my opinion.
Well, they're doing
that was the conversation that Eric Espinosa actually had told Guy Fieri no for over a year.
Yeah.
And Guy Fieri had to say, dude, I am in this for the long haul. I'm going to, I'm not just running away from this. And he had to prove to, excuse me, Eric, that he was committed to this project as not just another celebrity thing that goes away. And he's proven that.
Yeah, and they're doing this, if I'm sorry, go ahead, Bear.
Has anyone else talked about the elephant in the room? That this was, to me, I mean, I'm thrilled for Eric and Hector, and I think the team up has been fantastic. Has anyone else talked about the elephant in the room, that this was surprising that it wasn't him and Matt Booth? Because him and Booth go back. I mean, they go back before they were both famous.
Booth told
that's
him
how
no.
deep and long that friendship is.
Yeah, I think Booth told him no.
Yeah, Booth told him no.
Reasons unknown, but we know
this
that
was
he
a
said
better.
no.
This was a better move. With all due respect to Matt, this was a better move for Guy, because Eric's got a factory. Matt has to contract it out. There's a big difference with that.
And I think Matt probably brought him to Espinosa. I mean, I don't know for sure, but
I think so. Yeah.
he probably said no, but I'll get you in touch with someone who will.
Yeah, I can see that. But the big thing, if you heard Primetime last Thursday, there's a third knuckle sandwich coming out at the trade show. You'll probably see the details of it. And I think that was a very smart move by Espinosa, keeping the momentum going. Because now, you know what? 6 months already is a long time. People
Ride
get,
the
well,
wave.
what's new?
Ride
now
the
you
wave.
got something new, and they're going to have it's going to be a box press Figurado. There should be more details coming out in the next few days. So that's a smart move they're doing to keep the momentum going. So again, Bear, you're right. The signs are going. They're doing a good job at this, for sure.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
I just want to add on to what Coop was saying, because you have that. Yeah, Espinosa, I think, is going to be one of the best booths at the show this year. They have a lot going on. They have that. They have their 10th anniversary La Zona and Espinosa cigars coming out. They have the Warhead 8 coming out.
Yes.
They have a lot of. The last couple of days, Hector's been sending me information nonstop. All of us. They got a lot. They got a lot planned for this show. I think this is going to be a very busy show for them. Guy Fieri or not, which that's still a big part of it. But even without him, they got a lot going on in this show. I think they're going to have a very busy show. They're going to have a good show. They're definitely on my list of who hits it out of the park at the show.
And
this year.
they spent the money on a big booth that's toward the front.
Yeah, they're making a statement.
They had a top 3 show last year. I fully anticipate them to be that number 1 or number 2 spot this year. It's it's going to be fantastic.
Go
ahead.
Can I
come again?
Can I ask a question? What is everybody's most anticipated cigar and/or booth visit this year?
Ooh, good one. Bear, you go first.
Sounds great. You can read all about that answer on Cigar-Coop here in a few days.
Wow.
Come on.
Wait, hold on.
Wow. From the people who don't like teasers.
That
so
seemed like a
rude.
teaser.
It sure did seem like a teaser.
That seems like a teaser.
That's a slap in the face. Talk about hypocrisy.
That's an honest answer to a question. I'm just kidding. But you can.
No,
and you can read more details about it. So,
I thought he was gonna be like, all right, I'll tell you.
No, I am. No, I know. I'll answer the question. But you can read all more about it on cigar-coop.com.
Yeah, just give us the highlights. We'll read the details.
No, I'll tell you the cigar that I'm looking forward to that's kind of not being talked about as much as it should be, and that is the 10th anniversary of the Flor de los Antilles.
Yes.
I think that is
which we Yeah, we didn't put that on what we're doing because it was limited. Right.
Right. So I think that that's a cigar that the original that made such a profound impact on the industry, and it's a very, very popular cigar today. It is the one that is kind of, I would say, has kept momentum for well over, for a decade in terms of its popularity, in terms of the consistency and everything that you could say about all the positives about it. So I think that's one of the most underrated ones that isn't being talked about. As far as the booth question, I as much as I excited as I am personally to potentially meet Guy Fieri, I stand by my previous answer of I think Crowned Heads, Ace Prime, Tim Osgener. I'm stoked to see that setup and to see what vibe that brings to the show. I think it's gonna be fantastic.
For me, there's a lot of them. To pick one is tough because I have a good handful of them, and they all have their own very specific reasons. Uh, as much as as much as everyone probably might say that I'm gonna say like LFD because me and John or whatever, I am excited, and they have the Soli coming out, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the one I keep going back to, and I've talked about this with Coop on Spare Notes several times, is United. And the fact that there's two booths there, because there's the United booth and then there's the brand new Mega standalone selected booth, which is technically also under the United umbrella, but it's going to be by itself for Atabey, Byron, and Bandolero. First of all, you got to break that into two parts. United, under the United umbrella, non-Atabey Byron, they got a lot of stuff coming out. Red Anchor, we talked about that on Coop. We talked about it on Saturday. The Red Anchor coming out, that's going to be huge. They got the Yaya coming out. They have the La Mezcla Cubana, which they showed at TPE. That's also going to be there. You look at Selected. You have new Byron coming out. You have I believe we're going to see the Alfonso, the new cigar from Nelson Alfonso. So there's gonna be some new selected tobacco cigars. There's gonna be some new stuff under the United umbrella. They've been doing a great job. They've been full steam ahead. They're another one that, I mean, they're not in the same plane like Espinosa is, but in their own way. United has done a great job. We've been talking about this a lot. Just the last year and a half or so, they've done some really cool projects. They've come out with some really good cigars. You look at their firecracker lines that they did. They had the Big Poppy firecracker. They did the Bandolero firecracker. They just seem to be on a roll, and I'm really excited. And they weren't there last year. From what I understand, they went to TPE, and they had a great TPE, and then they had nothing left in the tank for PCA, and they didn't go, which is totally understandable. But that's one that I'm really excited to see is United. And to see some new stuff even in the selected lineup, because it's been Atabey, Byron, Bandolero, and the lines that are already there. But now we're going to see a new Byron. We're going to see a new line. We're going to see the Alfonso line, which we saw a little bit of. I guess it kind of soft debuted at Ambassador a few weeks ago, but now it's going to be really brought to the forefront, I believe, at the show. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who?
Big one for me is West Tampa Tobacco Company.
I forgot about them. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I was very surprised, to be honest, by the size of the booth space. That, at least on the floor plan, as it appears, it looks like a very large booth space. So it appears that he's that Rick and, I'm sorry, I don't recall his business partner's name, but they're
Gus Martinez.
Yep. Gus Martinez, yeah, that they're going big for this trade show. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, big booth right out of the gate like that's special. Yeah. Coop, what do you got?
So
I know we'll read about it on Cigar-Coop.com. I know, but
right. So there's going to be a couple of articles on like the cigars we'll look forward to. And then there's the company. Then there's I pick one company that I think right on target and for having a big show. And there's several. And by the way, I haven't finalized either of these lists yet, so I don't mind talking about what some of these. Matt, you mentioned United, but there's a big story going on. I think that it kind of hasn't really come out yet because the story's so new. But you remember in 2015, it was the year that Soccer and Melillo went to the trade show on their own for the first time without Drew Estate. And that was a big deal. They were the talk of that show, both of them that year. This year, you have the two faces of CAO for the last 15, maybe plus years, maybe more, at the trade show without CAO. You have Rick Rodriguez with West Tampa, and you have Tim Osgener at now his company, Osgener Family Cigars / part of Crown Heads. That's a big story. That's a very big story, in my opinion, that that is going to be watched closely, I think. And Tim being back at this show is a big deal. I mean, the last time he was at a show, I think, was 2010, which was my first show. So this is a guy who's been out for a long time, and he's back. He's a very popular guy. He's popular with retailers and manufacturers. So I think booth-wise, that's a thing to really, really watch as far as that goes. Now, you talk about cigars, and this won't be on my list because we don't know about the cigar. I think Fuente Padron is going to be a big deal. This is one of the most important releases. It's probably not going to be a huge release. So I don't know if it's going to be a big, impactful cigar per se. But it's going to make this show. It's going to put something on this show. And if Carlito and George are doing some sort of a presentation, that's going to be interesting. Now, I know Carlito is doing a presentation with LA Blue for the Opus 25th Humidor, which is another big deal. I mean, so you have these kind of players there with products that I think people are really going to be paying attention of whether you're at the show or not. So I would look at that, and I'm not taking any of that off the table yet. They just won't, I'm not going to look, those cigars won't be on my list because if I get to smoke that cigar, I'll consider myself lucky.
Very true.
So did I miss something? The new relationship with LA Blue and Fuente versus Prometheus. What happened there with the Prometheus accessory relationship?
It's still there. I think they just went with another channel to market here with LA Blue.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think there's anything that's changed with that.
I think LAB is just going to be specifically with that Opus X Society stuff, which is kind of its own thing.
Yeah, and the Opus 25th, I think.
Yeah.
Did you just nickname LA Blue? Did you just affectionately call them LEB?
No, I didn't.
No, Matt Tobacco.
No, I didn't. Did I say that? No, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounded like you were like referring to them as LEB. I was like, is that a term of endearment that just crept up on us? Like,
wow.
He's so close with them that he just calls them LEB instead of LEB.
LEB, man. Yeah, me and LEB.
Wow.
No, yeah, I wouldn't look at it. I think they have a very strong relationship with Prometheus, but I think they are looking at different channels to. I think Fuente likes to look at different channels to market with their stuff.
Hey, I mean, they do stuff with DuPont. I mean, they made Opus 25 DuPonts cutters and light. They made Maxi Jet and a cutter.
Yeah.
So I would say that they're kind of spread around a lot of the big, accessory players.
Yeah. I mean, from what you guys saw,
they like excellence.
Yeah, from what you guys saw today, Mirafell's not going to be displaying at the trade show. I don't see that they are, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that was
so.
one.
Jeremiah will be there, but
Jeremiah will be there, but I don't know if the Mirafell, the Richard will be there. Is what I'm saying. The cigar.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, but But the timing of the announcement I thought was interesting. Timing it with all the PCA stuff, I thought was pretty interesting.
It's true.
So, but I think the fact he will be there.
Then again, General's been sending us tons of press releases during this time too, and we know they're not going to be there. So,
General's done consistent year over year.
Yeah,
they've done a press release every week this year. I mean, if you look at it, there's been a new product they've done but they used to do 30 to 40 products at the trade show, so they're just spreading it out now.
Here's a question. So we know that Matt Booth and Room 101 will be at this year's PCA. Okay, going forward, does Matt Booth come to PCA for Room 101?
No.
Well, what does it mean to be the artistic director? I mean, what does that really mean?
It means he's an employee.
I think this is fulfilling
his employer. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think he's fulfilling his obligations to his customers to be there. Yeah.
It was already booked before this was announced. The Room 101 booth was already booked before this was announced, so I think
Yeah.
it was probably somewhere in the contract, and took up 2 or 3 lines in the contract that said, this trade show booth is already underway, so we're going to continue with it. But I agree with Coop that most likely we're not going to see this in the future from the standpoint of a standalone Room 101 booth.
Matt, do you remember we were at PP 2020 when Royal Agio was there with their booth? And they actually had a bigger booth in general.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it was the same deal. They had just gotten acquired, and I think everything was all in place already.
Yeah.
Well, this brings up an interesting point about the big four, because I still believe that it's in the PCA's best interest to get the big four back to the trade show someday. But if you look at the big four, there are 3, and it may be all 4, and one of them I'm just not seeing the correlation. But as far as I know, 3 of the big four still, in some way, shape, or form, still have their tendrils connected to the PCA trade show, and that is 1, Drew Estate is sponsoring trade show coverage for a lot of media groups, including How About That Cigar?
Us.
Us too, all of us.
General Cigar has the Room 101 booth there.
Yep.
And Davidoff is doing distribution for Ferry Otego.
And if I'm not wrong, I think JR is going to be there as a buyer. I may be wrong on that last one.
Okay.
The irony of this too is that the one that you're not mentioning, Matt, actually was slated to actually attend.
Yeah, and I always back when the big four first announced that they were not going to be attending separately yet together, I always believed and still believe that if they come back one by one, Altadis will be the first one to return.
I've agreed with that point.
I agree with you on that one. Totally.
I would have been on that horse.
I thought this year there was a chance. If you asked me a year ago, I thought there was a chance at the end of last year they were going to be here. But I agree. I think that would be the one that I could see coming back.
Because I believe, as far as I can see, and I'm no expert, but from everything I see and hear and am still learning about all the behind the scenes stuff, I believe that Altadis has the most to gain by returning to the PCA trade show. Not that the others don't have anything to gain from it. I just believe that Altadis would get the most return on investment by returning.
To be relevant?
To be relevant.
Wow.
Oh,
Forgot about that.
I mean,
somebody.
Hey, we made it 49 minutes. Or
Thank you.
55-ish, I think.
5.
We're
at the countdown.
You're right, but this, you think about this as we call this our Super Bowl, our biggest event, right? And I think I mentioned this on Spare Notes and on Primetime. You have brands like Monte Cristo, Romeo Julieta, Macanudo, Liga Privada, Davidoff, White Label, Davidoff Black, not at this trade show. There's these iconic brands that are missing from our biggest event. And again, I think it really behooves the whole industry to have those brands there. I keep hearing people say, well, I'm glad they're not there. No, I think it's better to have those brands there.
I agree. It's better to have them there.
I think it's better. It's better for those are iconic brands. Those
I
are
agree.
Iconic brands.
I 100%
The
agree.
boutiques are loving it.
Yeah.
The boutiques love the fact that the big guys aren't there, because that brings up more budget for their brands versus some of the others.
I have a lot of questions.
I agree and disagree with that point.
I have a big question: how much buying is going to happen at this trade show this year? Yeah,
I agree with that.
I think that that was part of my point. The thing I was going to say is, I think there's a contingent of very small buyers that do appreciate, the ones that are, that are still fighting for their place in the market, that are still relatively new. The 1- and 2-year-old companies, 3-year-old companies, the Jake Whites, the Casa 1910s, the Howard G's, like these companies. West Tampa is going to be one of these companies, right? That are, in their infancy, that they probably, if I'm an average buyer going to the trade show, and I don't have to commit 4 hours, 4+ hours of my visit to these big four, and I'm being very conservative with 4 hours. I can notice West Tampa. I can notice Howard G. So I agree with that point. Um, so I think they're grateful. I think if you got someone in a private situation, I think if you ask some of these more mid-sized companies, if you asked them privately and in private, they'd be like, to what Matt Ty was saying, like it would be better if they were here.
So Nicole just brought up something interesting. I'll pull up on screen so you guys can all see it. I want to get your opinions. Nicole said, I know there's no way to really know this, but I think if the turnout is low this year, they aren't going to return next year at all. Thoughts?
Who's not going to return?
Big
Who's not
Four.
going to return?
Big Four.
Well, I
think they would think that
partially-
a reason why. I think that a reason why they think that there's a low attendance.
Yeah. So I
Attend-
agree with Nicole and I agree with Coop. I think there's two parts to it. One is I think there's a bit of an ego piece with the Big Four, and I don't say that disparagingly. I just I believe that the Big Four believe that they drive a lot of sales in the industry as a whole. But also I think part of the whole, like we talked about way earlier in the show, is making the PCA convention and trade show an unmissable event also not just applies to retailers and boutique exhibitors or smaller company exhibitors, but also applies to the Big Four.
Here's an interesting question. Do we really think that in the top 10 reasons that the Big Four aren't attending the show, as much bitching and moaning is done about this topic, but do we really think that in the top 10 reasons that they're not attending the show, that attendance of the trade show is on that?
I
Do
don't
you
think
really
so.
think that?
I think
don't.
it's about they don't need to be there.
They think that they.
I
can
think it's about
create
deeper issues than that.
I think it's deeper
Go ahead,
issues
Coop.
too, and I think, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I think they can generate this trade show, and they think them pulling out was a sign. Hey, we're gonna hurt the trade show until we get our way, and that's what they did.
Well, Coop, you brought up an interesting point on Saturday with Spare Notes. We were talking about each of the Big Four and who was most likely to come back, or what it would take, or why, and then who was the least likely to come back. You said that, if I remember correctly, the least likely to come back was Davidoff, and
Yes,
it has to do with
correct.
the way. Can you reiterate what you said for those who maybe missed that?
Yeah, so Davidoff, and I'm talking Davidoff white label and black label, and Winston Churchill specifically.
The premier brand.
They're appointed merchants. So there's appointed merchants have to buy those products anyway. So they don't really need a trade show to generate sales of that. They can do it with the trade show's a little more important for Camacho and Avo, in that case, because those are not appointed merchant brands. But I still think Davidoff looks at their business as the Davidoff name. So I don't think they need to. I don't think they need to be there. Is what I'm saying.
And it's funny because they were at TPE, and what did they show? Zeno,
Camacho, yeah.
Camacho. Yeah,
They don't-
they weren't showing white label.
You're not going to open up because convenience store audience. You're not going to open up a Davidoff appointed. Most likely, you're not going to get a lot of prospects for a Davidoff appointed merchant at TPE.
Right.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Then maybe there was some discussions, but in general, I think that's their mindset. with
Right.
that.
And I'm still sad about Zeno.
The cigar
About
is not
Zeno-
bad.
About the Zeno
it's not.
Nicaraguan?
Yeah, it's not
We
a
all
bad
are,
cigar,
Garrett.
but it's
We all
just,
are.
I wouldn't have called it
It's
Zeno.
not Zeno.
I'm on board with you on that. I would have called it a Camacho. Is what I would have made it a Camacho.
yes.
Yeah.
I
Or
agree.
new brand.
I
Or
would have.
new brand.
I would have put it under Cusano. Cusano needs a facelift, man. That's what I would have done with it.
I
It's
don't
cool.
know what
It's
Davidoff
Cusano
does with
still a
Cusano.
thing?
Cusano's kind of one of those things. I think it's kind of like Baccarat. It just is on cruise control.
It's a catalog brand.
It's a catalog brand. Yeah.
It's true.
It gives them a
There's
channel on the market.
I don't say. I mean, I suppose that came out sort of disparagingly. I genuinely don't mean it that way, but it's not. It drives sales, but it doesn't drive. It drives sales on existing accounts. It doesn't drive new accounts.
Yeah. Yeah. or it services certain accounts that specialize in that space.
Right.
So I have another interesting point. Trying to cover a lot of bases tonight that I can. Kind of getting away from the big four. There's a booth. There's a company that will not be exhibiting at the trade show. I don't know if you guys have heard this yet, but when Coop and I were live on Saturday night with Spare Notes, I believe Jay confirmed this in the chat. AJ Fernandez will not be at the show this year.
Correct.
It's been known,
AJ
been
Fernandez.
known for a while.
We will have a representative from AJ Fernandez on primetime tonight.
Nice.
Just so you know. So we may get into a little bit of it, but they have something coming out. They announced the Dorado today. So we have Don Williams who's going to be on. So we'll maybe get a little insight, but yeah, they're not coming. I can tell you that.
Now they are doing a collaboration with Karen Berger. So Karen Berger's booth is going to be covering that over there. But other than that, yeah, they won't be at the show.
Well,
Your
they'll be doing
fingerprints
Nick
are all over the
Melillo.
show, man.
Yeah, they'll be
Nick
doing a
Melillo,
lot of
Espinoza.
Oh, that's true.
Room
I mean, yeah.
101.
They're everywhere.
Yeah,
too.
they're all over the place, man.
Yeah, no, I mean
Yeah.
that's true. But I thought that was interesting. The big name like AJ not coming to the show. I thought it was worth mentioning. While we're talking about the big four not being there, that's not a big four, but it's a significant name to not be at the show too. Moving along back into people who are coming back to the show. McAuliffe will be back at the show. They have some new products to show this year, and La Flor Dominicana will be coming back to the show this year, and they will be showing off. I thought John said there's multiple things being shown, but right now all we know is the new Soli, which will be coming to the show.
The question I have is they're going to show the new small batch and they're going to show the new LGs. I don't know if that. I get the impression probably not. But you never know.
John talked about him a little bit, if I remember correctly, when he was on with me a few weeks ago, when he was here with me. I think he mentioned it, but yeah, I don't know if it's actually going to be shown. But I also thought I heard him say that there's multiple things going to be shown at the show, but we only know of one as of right now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Very true.
But they
I'm
will
so
be
glad
back.
it's pronounced. So, I'm sorry, Matt.
No, go ahead, Bear. No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying I'm so glad it's pronounced the Soli, because Solus just sounds heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Well, and it's possible that the this rolling school project is going to be ready for retail presentation as well.
Yeah. I was thinking that too.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think that will be
may
there.
be part of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the rolling school will be there too.
I think I was wondering if the other thing was going to be that FSG project that's going on.
Yeah. From Saka?
That would be the other. That could be the other. No, for LFD.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. Again, I mean, I know there's things like look, LFD back at the show is big. They have a new product for the first time in 5 years, like a major release. I'm talking about. So this is a big show. That's another boost to really watch this year, and I think everyone's happy they're back. So.
Well, it's
absolutely.
interesting that
Stoked.
both LFD and Padron. I don't know how it is in your area, but in the Midwest, those shelf spaces are empty. The amount of back orders that both LFD and Padron have had shops struggling.
Yeah.
Tons of back orders. So hoping to see.
The official hashtag of Flow Dominicana brought to you by Smokin Tabacco. Daddy's back. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, my question at the booth for these guys is going to be, what is your back order status and what's the plan to get back to at least even play?
Can I answer for Padron?
Sure. Go ahead.
Can I answer? I don't care.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for him.
See that, Garrett? See that field over there? See how it's barren? That's exactly how many fucks I give. Hey, name a retailer. Name a retailer that will give up their Padron space.
Oh
yeah.
nope.
Yeah, exactly. Or Fuente.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah.
Right. Yep. No, you're absolutely right. But at the same time, retailers are still frustrated. because
Sure,
the
no,
influx of people that ask for both of those brands, and with barren shelf space, it's a frustrating part for the retailers and
Well,
consumers that are fanboys.
And Bear brings up a great point. So if a retailer is consistently having a hard time keeping Padron product on the shelves because things are back ordered, they're not going to give up that. It'll be virtually 0% chance that they're going to give up that shelf space and say, screw you, we're bringing another brand to take up that shelf space.
Yeah, that's not.
And I'm not saying this. I'm not saying anything against LFD or any other brand, but if a shop owner says, I can't keep where's my product to put on my shelves, and LFD has to keep saying, I'm sorry, we're working on it, they're more likely to give up LFD shelf space than they are to give up Padron shelf space or Davidoff shelf space, especially if they're an appointed merchant or name or Monte Cristo white label shelf space or whatever their top selling shelf space stuff is. So that's why I think there are some companies that it's more important for them to do a better job with keeping product moving and keeping product in their retailers' hands than others.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point. There's definitely certain brands that, and I think that whole frustration that Garrett was talking about, it's kind of a little bit. It's like, I really want the inventory, but it's also, and it's like, and I understand that you guys have back orders, you work on stuff, but it's also, and it's like, but I'm also, as much as the shelves are empty, I'm too afraid to let it go, so I'm not gonna let it go. But in the meantime, I have empty shelves. So it's almost like they're caught in the middle. It's kind of on both sides, and it's just kind of,
they're literally caught in the middle. Yeah,
it sucks because they can't fill the shelves, but they're not going to let it go because, oh well, it's Padron. I mean, how can you let that go?
Yeah,
it really is. It's a sucky situation, but it's interesting. Yeah, you make up a good point. How are they going to fix that? Moving forward. I know during the pandemic times, look, factories were closed. They weren't making a lot of stuff. I get that.
Yep.
As we continue to move away from that period, factories are now open again. They are rolling. It's like, okay, so how can we get caught up on inventory? It's a huge question.
I know retailers that have back orders from last year's show.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I don't doubt it for a second.
It's a This is the terrible timing for what happened with LaFleur specifically. They were going through these process changes, and they were going through the factory expansion, and then bam, COVID hits, and then the country shuts down. Like it couldn't have happened at a worse time. Couldn't happen in a worse moment for that company in its history. I think it's worth noting though. And I know I say this with as much objectivity as I can because I consider him a dear friend, and I know he's a dear friend of the show too. But I have nothing but the highest respect, and I applaud the effort that John has put through over the last few years in holding, and all the work that he's done, the ground game that he has executed on with all the limitations, and all the hits that his company has taken and everything. He has really done that company a service, and I mean it's an incredible job that he's done. So
yeah,
he really has, and obviously everyone knows that I have a very good relationship with John, and maybe I'm a little biased, but I do love the guy. I'm gonna scream for him the loudest. I agree. I mean he's been. And I have personal conversations with him about business, and I have public conversations with him about business, and those are not usually very different. And he's always very positive, and he always, I ask him some of these hard questions, and he'll give me an answer. He doesn't give me the runaround. It's like, well, like we have this going on, we have this going on, and we're in this spot, we understand, but we expect to be here by here and stuff. And he's always positive. He always has ideas. We have this thing we're gonna try. We're gonna roll out this thing. They always have irons in the fire. It's been like, I don't know. It's just kind of tough, but hopefully we get through it. That's never an answer from John. Never, ever, and not on
And
anything.
that's why retailers are hanging on to the empty shelf space.
Mhm.
Is because of the honesty and the transparency and the upfront nature of him, and his very small team and everything. So, but it's largely him.
And despite all this, too, I can tell you without a doubt, I know this to be true on a very personal level. I mean, he is still very happy with La Flor Dominicana, and he is very devoted to the Gomez family. And I think that there's a lot of people who might get to that point and get frustrated, like, I'm gonna go look somewhere else. But no, he is. I'm sticking with him. I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna keep giving it everything. We're gonna get this company to be the best it can be, get to the best spot. And I think that in itself is admirable for anyone who's in his position with a brand to be like, I'm sticking with it no matter what. I mean, he continues to go day after day, and he's traveling again. He's doing events. He keeps, and that's huge. I talked to a lot of people who, reps I know and other people who've told me privately, like, hey, like I'm looking to get out of here. Like, can you let me know if you hear anything? And they're just like, well, and I understand that too. I do. I people want to change their careers and stuff. I don't. People should always do what's best for them personally. I get that. But the fact that John has just also stayed this whole thing and through all the challenges, he stayed so dedicated to them without even being like, you know what, maybe I'll get out. That's never been said to me, and I don't think that it's ever even crossed his mind. In fact, there was rumors at TPE going around like, hey, we think La Flor Dominicana is going to sell out to Forged, or hey, John can't have too much patience left for them, and I told him these things, and he's like, first of all, I'm offended that anyone thinks that we would sell out to anyone, let alone Forged. He said, I am disgusted by that comment. He goes, that's the furthest thing from the truth. So he is, and he continues to push that momentum for them to make changes and continue to grow. So that's my piece. I gotta throw that in there for John.
I have a question on this topic though, since Garrett brought it up here, I'm not calling you out for being untruthful here, but this has come up before. So you're telling me that you, honest to goodness, you could, if you wanted to go out and get a DL 700, you couldn't in your area right now.
In my area, no. I know of one shop in Chicago. I know, and there may be others. I'm just talking about what I've seen.
Yeah, your knowledge, your scope. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Yep. Okay. Because I could go get one. That's my thing. Like I understand that there's shortages. I believe that there's shortages. I see that. I just know that I could go get one right now.
Well, and if we were to go to the west side to Tobacco Grove, which is it is the biggest shop humidor in Minnesota. That'd be the best bet. And part of that brings in to play the buying power of larger retailers.
Yes.
Larger retailers that have larger walk-in humidors. There's I don't count anything against a cigar company, a cigar manufacturer that gives first dibs to their larger retailers with better buying power. That's business. I have no problem. So yeah, smaller retailers that carry LFD products, you're less likely to see them on the shelf.
So Sodi's and Omar at Ramsey's doesn't have it, but if we go over to Jeff at Tobacco Grove, that's our best shot. Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Carney's here with us. He is in the comments. Last year was our third best year ever in production. 2020 number 2, 2019 number 1. The demand vastly outpaces our production levels. And I'll say it for John before he can even type it. So John, save your finger space. I know he's not feeling well today. Congratulations to the consumers. You have outsmoked the capacity of the manufacturers in the industry.
Yeah. Let me add a comment in on La Flor. So I have two things to say. First, the rumors of them selling have been around for as long as I've covered La Flor. I mean, those have been around for many, many years. I've heard many iterations of these. The second thing is, look, I was down at the factory in February. That factory was going 100%. So their work, I mean, it's not a huge factory. And people don't realize it's a smaller factory than you think. But they were going 100% right now. So, it's going to take a while for them to get back. They just can't turn it on overnight. But I can tell you the factory's going 100%. Every facet of that factory was working. So I have no doubt that they're heading right back on a good track, and that's why they're at the show this year. Yeah.
Well, and also big kudos to not compromising the product just to get stuff shipped.
Absolutely.
Because it's happened in the past with other brands that have had, huge years and, maybe a cigar of the year or something like that. And then their quality control suffers because they just want to get product out there. And they know there have been brands in the past that know when that product leaves the facility in Dominican Republic or Nicaragua or wherever it is, that it's not as good as it should be. And LFD has chosen to put quality first, and I applaud that.
Absolutely.
And Lito is so on top of this operation. He doesn't have another guy doing blending for him like some of these other companies, right? He's the guy doing everything. He's involved with every aspect of his operation, hands on. And I'm telling you, when you go on, and I've been on a lot of farm tours and factories, and he's in that select group of like the Nick Perdomos, the AJ Fernandez, who are just involved in every step of the operation here. So this guy, he's not going to sacrifice quality. I totally agree with you on that. And it wasn't just a show for the pro cigar people. You could really see this here in action.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest and most important thing that should be said when talking about LaFleur through this too. Is like, yeah, maybe they've been behind on their inventory they've been putting out, whatever, all those other things we talked about. But I think Matt's right. You really summed it up with, well, you know what? Give them the respect. They didn't sacrifice to be like, you know what? Well, fuck it. Let's just get it out the door. Put the wet cigars in the box and get it out.
No one complained. These Andalusian Bulls sucked. You didn't hear that. I mean, you may not like the Andalusian Bull, but that's a different story. But I never heard them. Wow, these weren't smoking the same as they were when they went cigar. I haven't heard that, and I think that's a very good sign.
I haven't. Yeah. I mean, I think that's true. I mean, one of the things that they put out recently that I love is their TAAs, the chisels, the TAA chisels, and the natural and the Maduro.
Yep. A good TAA cigar, by the way.
I told John
a rarity these days. We won't go there, but
and I told John,
we won't go there, but you just did. Okay.
Oh, you just did.
Well, Coop just threw it on the table. He pulled it out and dropped it on the table, and now it's here. Yeah, the TAA situation, I mean, with the exception of very few, like La Flor Dominicana, it's the comments and the reviews have been less than favorable, generally speaking, on a lot of things. I don't want to mention names that got a lot of negative attention because I don't want to really drive anyone to the ground on the show, but there's been some, and there's been a good amount. But LFD, yeah. I mean, those are fucking amazing, and the next one for 2022, John's told me about what it will be, and I'm excited. It's going to be good.
And speaking of event exclusive cigars, the PCA exclusive cigars, not all of them, but many of the PCA exclusive cigars that were sold at last year's trade show are just now hitting the shelves. And some of those companies are going to be selling and exhibiting their 2022 PCA exclusive. Are we going to have to wait until the last week of June next year to see those hit the shelf? I don't know. It seems to me if you're going to put out a PCA trade show exclusive cigar and that trade show happens in July, that maybe you want to get those products in the hands of your retailers by October or November of that same year. That's just me.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah.
They call it anticipation, man.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point. It's a good point, and I'm sure there's going to be some that do. Yeah, it's gonna be till next year. I'm hoping that this year, in the last year or whatever, a lot of companies have been able to get more control on their stuff. That hopefully not. But I can't say that 100%. There's still going to be a few that, we're not going to see those till next June before the 20.
And that's on the retailer when they go to the trade show this year and they're in the booth and the rep or whoever says, all right, Mr. Retailer, would you like to go ahead and order the PCA exclusive? You can only get it if you order it here. You know what? Can you go ahead and just talk to me next April? Because that's when you guys are going to probably fucking release it anyway. That's what you got to do. That's what you.
Yeah,
I mean,
check the box out. I'm here. I was here, so yeah, just
Yeah, I was here, and I know you're still going to have 2,500 boxes available to sell me in April of next year, so I'll just wait.
John brought up a good point actually from
really
the
did.
sidelines here. There is about to be too many cigars on the market for the demand. Industry-wise, there will be an outlier companies that have growth.
I agree.
It's true. I mean, Coop has been known to be talking about, you know, limiteds. Just focus on limiteds alone. I mean, there's too many limiteds out there.
there is, and it's easier to deliver a limited to the trade show than a core line. So that's why a lot of companies will do a limited. It's the
Well,
easy
I
way
know that
out. Oh, I got
there's
something.
been-
I got something new. It's a special limited, and some are more
Yeah.
special than others. I mean, that's what I'm just.
And they only got to worry about doing like one run of it, it'd be done. Versus a core line, they gotta first of all getting a core line to market, and then to keep up with it.
Yep, keep the consistency. Exactly.
That's
And
the
then,
part.
you know,
That's the
core
part
line-
people forget about.
Yeah, and a core line is going to take away. You know, eventually you start getting the shelf space problems with the retailer because how many core lines can you have? So
Very true.
the limit is the easy way out. I'm not saying it's all good or all bad, but it's the easy way out for a lot of companies.
Everybody's special.
We all get a trophy.
I want to take a quick break. I want to cover the news really quick because I forgot about the news early in the show. This one will be quick. It'll be something a little bit different. Give us a break from the show talk. I'm not going to change the screens here because I'm just going to kind of go with it as is. But our news this week is brought to you once again by McAuliffe Cigars. If you head over to McAuliffeCigars.com, you can sign up to become an official McAuliffe ambassador. And while you're at it, head over to Facebook and join the McAuliffe Ambassador group. We can hang out and smoke with all of your fellow ambassadors of McAuliffe Cigars. Interesting news story. So away from all the announcements and other stuff for cigars and PCA stuff, kind of going a little outside the box here. Does anyone remember the announcement that was made at Pure Sabor in 2018?
Yes, I was there.
The factory.
And as of today, the ground was broken on the Nicaraguan factory of Arturo Fuente. They have been growing tobacco in Nicaragua for some time now. I spoke to Jose yesterday, and I think they're on like their 6th or 7th crop now of Nicaraguan tobacco that they've been growing. But, you know, they planned on building the factory sooner, but there was some political unrest in Nicaragua. The pandemic happened. It just kept getting pushed out. But now Carlito is comfortable with moving forward with starting that factory. Interesting. Very interesting. From what I understand, there's obviously going to be new stuff there, new lines and new products, and probably more Nicaraguan stuff. But I also am hearing that there also could be some existing stuff that will be either now made there or also made there. Interesting. What does everyone think about Fuente? Expanding within another factory. Now they're Dominican, they have Nicaragua. I'll start with how about that cigar?
I'll jump in. I'm excited about it. I was excited about it when I was there. I was at the time covering for Blind Man's Puff, and it was an exciting announcement. There was some tension in the room, definitely when the announcement came down, but in the end it was exciting, and the delays were just very unfortunate. Not long after that festival, the political unrest started, and then not long after that started to calm down, the pandemic hit, like you said, Matt. But I said it even back then. Just picture someday down the line an Opus X Nicaragua.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Just
that
yeah.
It could be just the next great chapter in the saga of Opus X.
I mean, obviously the Dominican is what made Opus X specifically special.
Right.
But now that it's been around and there's been so many things, now a good time. All right, well, like we've been there, we've done that. Let's do something totally different with Opus X. Let's go Nicaraguan. Yeah. And there's so many avenues they could go with Opus X on this.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they're going to do that. I'm not saying that's in their list of projects to work on as an Opus X Nicaragua. I'm just saying it could be, it just could be a huge thing for them. But in addition, it also gives them another factory to possibly even increase production on some of their core line stuff. If they're going to be shipping, some of the same tobaccos that they use to roll their cigars in their factory in Dominican Republic, maybe it'll help them increase production on their core line stuff, or maybe it's going to be all for new projects. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I think me too. Bear, what do you got?
I mean, I think is it exciting for a company like Fuente to be doing something different? 100%, absolutely. To Matt's point, I think, I mean, the nerd in me gets really excited about the idea of an Opus X Nicaraguan. The purist in me thinks that'll never happen, because I think Carlito has such, again, this is my opinion, Carlito has such reverence for that name. Like, if you hear him talk about Opus, and I mean, it's almost a religious moment for him every time he says it. Like, it's just, I think he has so much respect for that brand and what he accomplished, as he should, that I just don't think he would. And taint is the wrong word. I don't think he would taint it. I don't think he would. And water down's the bad word too, because I mean, it's still Fuente, right? So, but I just don't think he would mess with that. I think. What really kind of gets me excited is that he creates a version of what Opus was to the Dominican for Nicaragua, and paying homage to his family and what his father did and the journey that the family's taken there. So I don't think it'll be called Opus. I mean, I couldn't even picture a word or whatever. I mean, it'll just be, something special.
Yeah.
It could be the next great thing.
The next great thing. Yeah, exactly.
It's important to remember too that this isn't their first rodeo in Nicaragua. The Fuente family was in Nicaragua before they went to Dominican Republic, so it's
right.
it's they definitely do have roots there, and plenty of friends and great relationships in the industry who are rooted in Nicaragua.
I think they left there in '78.
Apropos. Yeah, and these delays were kind of apropos for the Fuente story. I mean, it's just kind of what happens.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Coop, I know you're running short on time, so I want to get your answer in. Then I got one more thing I want to bring up before we close out the show.
Okay.
Any final thoughts on the Fuente factory?
Yeah, so I kind of agree with a lot of what Bear just said. I don't see an Opus brand coming out of Nicaragua because that story's so Dominican tied. But I see something, the next, whatever that next thing is coming out of there. This is the part where this is where I'm not seeing production. Okay. When you I've been on the Fuente factory tour, and it's a very specialized factory. And there's rolling rooms for Hemingways. There's rolling rooms for Casa Cuba. There's rolling rooms for Opus X. I know he spent a lot of time perfecting that system there. I don't see Carlito just saying, well, I'm going to move Hemingway to Nicaragua. I just don't see that happening. I don't see them moving any of those brands there. So I'm like a little perplexed what they're going to do there, right? And the other thing is, I don't see let's say the factory opens 2025, right? Mm-hmm. Beginning of 2025. I don't see them having a ton of brands ready to roll just because that's not the way Fuente does things. So I'm kind of curious what they're going to do there for a while. I mean, we may not see a lot of stuff come out of there for a while. Maybe they go contract brands. Maybe that's an option they go with for a while to keep the factory going. They take on some contract brands, which is something I'm sure people would want. So, but I don't see anything moving from the Dominican. It's just the way that factory works. And Carlito's not going to rush anything down in Nicaragua. So, like, it may be 7-8 years before we see something like where that next thing, until the next comes out, is what I'm saying. So it's going to be very interesting. I don't have a good crystal ball on it.
Absolutely.
Other than I don't think it's as simple as moving stuff from one factory to another.
Maybe it'll be their
maybe
it'll be their flavored tobacco.
Oh, stop!
Factory. Just kidding. Sorry.
Well, I want to hit our top three really quickly, so I can get Coop ready for his its glorious night tonight at a reasonable time. Our top three is brought to you by Room 101 Cigars. Oh wow! And now it's not going to play. Nicole, all of your plugins are not working tonight.
Operator.
I don't know what she
Read it
did
in
today.
a Matt Booth. Read it in using your Matt Booth impression. Come on, roll.
Always, watch the Smokin Tabacco show. Eat your vegetables. Take your vitamins. Smoke Room 101. All right, really quick. We're going to Vegas next week. Top 3 Vegas restaurants or cuisines that people are excited to go to next week. How about that cigar? You guys go first. Bear, then Coop. Rapid fire.
Really only one. The Korean barbecue place. 888.
888 Korean barbecue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of hub on that place. That's at the Wynn, right?
No, it's
off.
It's off strip.
total
Oh,
off
no, that's
strip.
Red 8. Never mind. I'm thinking of a different place.
So we went there on
Different
recommendation
kind of meat.
from the and yes, and it was like a 19-hour wait.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we decided to not
Yeah, but that's on the list. Well,
Binions.
no. I mean, if you want just greasy breakfast food, the diner at Binion's is your best bet, or the Pepper Mill. Yeah, for evening fare, I mean, we had a fantastic dinner at the SW Steakhouse last year.
Gosh.
At the Wynn.
Funny.
Bazaar Meats is always a great choice. So there is a lot of great food to be had in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. Bear, what do you got?
Oh man, it's one of my favorite spots. I've been there every year. We're going again. One of the evenings. So excited for Yardbird. Right there in the intersection of the sands and stuff. Some of the best food I've eaten in Las Vegas. It's Southern comfort with twist. Freaking love it. It's fantastic. Love our post-show tradition of eating ramen. It's one of the things I actually look forward to the most. And considering how much my throat was killing me last year, it was so awesome to eat. So, but a lot of great, like Matt said, a lot of great food, a lot of great stuff. I'm sure we'll have a new one this year to talk about next year. So I'm pumped.
And Coop, I'll make this easy for you. In addition to In-N-Out Burger, where else are you looking forward to eating?
No, it's not In-N-Out. So Bear's talking about Jinja ramen on Flamingo. That's we'll be going there. He mentioned Yardbird. That is the other one that we're going. And then there's a third. The third is I'm hoping to get there, and it was mentioned also is Bazaar Meats. I mean, I put those 3 as like the places I want to go to. We tried to get into Bazaar Meats last year, and we didn't have luck. We ended up going.
Not the place I took you for breakfast, Coop?
No. But no, it was good. It was good. I just you can't get me to go to a breakfast place.
Well,
There's nothing that would excite me for breakfast.
You guys could be like fake Alan Rubin and order a $40 waffle on room service.
He loves it. He loves it.
It's his favorite city, even though he says it's his 5th favorite city.
Fourth or 5th. Yeah, it's his favorite guy has a countdown going to Vegas.
For me, it's gonna be my favorite breakfast place is Mona Biga Bee because I love the crepes.
Yeah, that's the place we're talking about. Yeah, fuck
yeah,
it's awesome.
yeah.
It's
I love
money.
that place. That's definitely my top. That's maybe my number 2. Hell's Kitchen, and I really want to go to, if I can swing it this with time, I want to go to the Golden Steer. So that
well
is
worth going.
Yeah.
We went there. It's good place.
Yeah, so that would be my 3. I know we're running short on time, Coop. I want to get you out of here as soon as I can. But before we just jump off the show, closing thoughts. Guys, thank you for all being here. First of all, really excited to be with you all next week. It's going to be a great time. We sure have a lot of things planned at Smokin Tabacco, and there'll be more on that in Las Vegas. So stay tuned. We have a couple of tricks up our sleeve, and that's really it, guys. I'll go around the horn again, but any closing thoughts, anything you want to say about the show that you're looking forward to, or just any comments you want to make, have at it. HBTC?
Well,
I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
We're good. Excited
As
to see
always,
you guys.
extremely excited to see you guys and everybody else from Cigar Media, all the brand owners, all the manufacturers, the retailers. Love being back together with everybody and looking forward to it.
Bear?
I've thoroughly enjoyed the assembly of these pots tonight. It's been fun. It's been fantastic. But graciously and humbly, Matt, from the bottom of my sincere heart, thank you for inviting me. It was a lot of fun tonight. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, buddy. I love you. And Coop.
Yeah, same message from her going forward. I think. Well, the last thing I'll say is I think whenever there's a positive energy going into the trade show, it usually ends up being a positive energy. So I think that's a very good sign that we're seeing a lot of people excited about the show, and manufacturers don't fuck it up like you did last year. Just say at the end. No photos. You don't need to do photos, okay?
Positive way to go to end it, Coop. Yeah.
Being positive, but bringing up a sore subject.
I'm gonna drop the negative.
I'm just telling them they can't. Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up, manufacturers. Find a better way to do it.
Oh,
Hey.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You're a natural. Just don't fuck it up.
It'd be great.
All right, guys, that's going to do it tonight from Smokin Tabacco and our roundtable. Thank you so much to all the guys here tonight. Appreciate it. Can't wait to see you all very, very soon in Las Vegas and get to be together. There will not be a show next week, and there will also not be a Spare Notes. We will see you with those shows when we get back, and there will be a lot to talk about for sure. Also, I think all of us are going to be on How About That Cigar that following, or not that Monday, the Monday after, right? 2 weeks from?
We have you and Nicole, and we have Mike and Mike from Cigar Hustler.
Okay, that's what it was. So we'll be on there, and that's it. Just stay tuned. We're all of us in our own way through our own channels. We'll bring you the best coverage from the PCA trade show. And with that, we'll see you from Las Vegas. Take care.